Hmm, 20 guesses about what this lesson is about. And like we say in Kansas, the first 21 guesses don't count. So I put this periodic table link up for you in Teams under resources. And the periodic table is something that we've kind of forgotten about. It's kind of like, how often do you stop and actually look at the stars in the sky or look at the wildflowers on the side of the road? And so we take for granted that we have this organization of the elements that make us up, keep us going, and give us a place to live. And so all of these elements have special properties, and there's a reason why that hydrogen is up here in the corner, and can't read that there. Some dude's name is down here at the bottom. Some of these elements down here are named after scientists, which is kind of cool. Of course, you should recognize Einsteinium. Let's see, copper you should be familiar with, carbon. And so we're going to talk about why they're arranged the way they are and what properties we can predict by looking at the periodic table. So a chemist can look at the periodic table, look at a chemical equation, and make predictions about what's going to happen if certain chemicals mix or how they're going to react or how they are in nature. But we got to back up. Our essential question for this lesson is, how are elements arranged on the periodic table? Our standard is going to be S8P1E. So let's jump right in. Like every lesson, you're going to start out with an Engage Your Brain page. And so your Engage Your Brain page starts out with the question, write a word or phrase beginning with each letter of the word gold that describes the property of these coins. So try to use like scientific words, not like giraffe, because giraffe isn't going to explain those, right? And then you go on to question 2, and it says, as you will learn in this lesson, elements are arranged by their properties. What other objects in your life are arranged by their properties? So if you went home, is there anything in your house that's categorized or organized? I don't know why it moves. So describe, because describe means more than just word, more than just putting, well, my shoes, of course. My shoes are arranged by color. My shoes are arranged by how I use them, like sports shoes and dress shoes. The next question asks you again to break down words into meanings. And so you have some context clues. So for the first context clue, you have the books are on the table, and they want you to describe table using that sentence. And then the next sentence says a data table is a useful way to organize information. And they want you to come up with the definition of table from that sentence. Okay, so the first part of the lesson is called Get Organized. And so we have 3 essential questions. What are elements? So we've already kind of talked about that. How are the elements organized? And what is this periodic table of elements? So your first question asks you to identify. Remember that your textbook is wrapped around the 5 E's. And so in science, like explore, explain, investigate. Oh, doesn't start with an E, does it? So look at these 6 substances, and they want you to put them into 2 or 3 categories. So if you had these out on the table and you could group them by their properties, how would you put them together? And so you might want to, actually, let's just have you do this. I'll look for this when I grade your pages. Put your categories up here. And then it wants you to label which one of these goes in which category. Solid and liquid probably isn't a good one. Try to be a little more specific than that. You can do it. You got this. You got it. Okay, number 6. How did Henry Moseley revise Mendeleev's Periodic table. Yeah, you're going to have to read. Sorry. Active reading. Apologize. Please. Stop it. Stop it. Gotta have fun. Gotta have fun. And then the next question asks you to what are you doing this week? What are you doing next week? Fill in your activities. And then it will ask you to think about, do any of them occur periodically? So they're wanting you to investigate the meaning of this word period or periodically. And so take a minute to do that. Don't write a lot. Just like write 1 or 2 words and then think about that word periodically. And don't forget to explain. So here I did mine. And actually every day is work, 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 work. I do try to spend some time with my family on Sunday. It doesn't happen very often. And I bowl on Monday nights. You guys have heard me talk about that. I bowl on a team called the Supernova. And so if we look at my calendar, we do have some things that are happening periodically. Every Sunday, I hang out with the family. That happens periodically. It means it's organized. It repeats. And then I bowl on every Monday. That's periodic, meaning that it repeats every Monday. And then work, 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 work. That definitely repeats. That repeats every day. And so that word periodically means organized and in a repeating fashion. So I can predict, based on the periodicity of my calendar, what I'm going to be doing on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. So the periodic table, you've already looked at it a little bit, and we got some crazies on here, of course. So we got hydrogen and helium that kind of stand out by themselves. We're going to talk about these dudes and these dudes and these dudes. So we're going to talk about what's going on in the periodic table. Remember, you can't let go of this information, that the atomic number tells you how many protons the atom has, and that also equals the number of electrons. So remember, protons are positive and in the nucleus, electrons are negative and outside of the nucleus in the electron cloud. And remember that not all of them are named by the first few letters of the element's name. So like tungsten right here. Tungsten isn't TU, it's W. Potassium, a K. I don't know. Has to do with science and Latin, Greek words, and why they wanted to name them that way. So the first vocab word we're going to talk about are the periods. And the periods are the horizontal rows. Yes, you have to know what a period is. So this is period 1, orange is period 2, yellow is period 3. And there's a reason why we have this gap here. And so you look here, it says all the elements in a period have the same number of atomic orbitals. So that means hydrogen has 1 electron cloud, that circle when we were looking at our atom the other day. This period has 2. This period has 3. So this would have 1 circle around it, this would have 2, this would have 3. And when we get down here, that's when we start getting that craziness. Remember we said that the first energy level is full with 2, and the other ones past that have a full outer shell with 8 electrons. When we get down here, it gets crazy. And so you can save all that orbital stuff for your high school class. The next vocab word are the groups. And the groups are vertical. So all of these people, all these dudes have the same characteristics. All these dudes have the same characteristics. And so you have periods across this way, and then you have the groups. And so here we go back to this idea of what's happening in the outer shell of the element. The same number of electrons in the outer orbital. And we have a word for that, remember, those valence electrons. So hydrogen has 1. And then everybody in that red column, their outer shell only has 1 electron. Versus if we get over here to these dudes have 8. 8 in their outer shell. These dudes have 7. 6. So remember that term valence electron, that's where this comes in handy. And that's part of the reason why these are arranged this way. Okay, question number 8. It wants you to analyze. According to the periodic table, how many elements are liquid at room temperature? So you're going to have to look at this full picture. So you might want to put 196 and 197 together and take a minute to, let's go back to that, investigate all this information that they put in here on the periodic table for you, and then answer that question. And then in number 9, same thing. It says, according to the periodic table, how many elements are metalloids? So again, you're going to have to look at your key and what they're telling you on the side to interpret that information on the periodic table. And I think that's it. Yep.